Hi guys, welcome back to Randomly Random. I am Kwame, your internet bestie. Today we're continuing with part 4 of the TV series Manifest, where the passengers find out if the government is involved. Why did the plane disappear in the first place? Why are those foreign passengers who were on flight 828 being experimented on? Let's find out. Grab your snacks and let's get into it.
Grace is in the store buying makeup for a dinner date she and Ben are going to at night. She runs into Lourdes and cannot help but notice a pregnancy test in her basket. Lourdes reveals that she and Jared are trying for a baby and asks Grace to keep it a secret from Michaela. Meanwhile, Michaela and Jared go to the house of the guy who died after jumping off the building. They find, "I am the angel of death" written on the wall. The dead man was trying to figure out the meaning of the callings and came to the conclusion that everyone who comes in contact with him dies. Following that, they go to a bar where the man used to go quite often. The bartender reveals that he used to call himself the Angel of Death because everyone he told about the callings would die. Michaela is shocked because this would mean Jared and Grace's lives are at risk since they know about the callings. In the meantime, Ben and Vance are trying their best to find out where the missing passengers are.
Oh my goodness. Everyone they tell about the calling ends up dying. What? Oh no. That means his wife is in danger. Michaela's ex is in danger. Literally anyone and everyone they've told is in danger. Really? What a plot twist. I really wasn't expecting this. Oh no. Okay, let's figure out what happens.
Kept. To find the exact location, they need Fiona's help. They make her visit her contacts at UDS and plant a bug in the office of the SP Project Ted. Through the microphone, Vance finds out the general area of the place where the experiment could be taking place. They also discover that the main mind behind the experiments is someone referred to as the Major. At night, Grace tells Michaela about her encounter with Lourdes and that she is trying for a baby. Grace asks her to move on, but Michaela knows how hard it is to work with her ex-fiancé and watch him be in love with her best friend. After that, Grace and Ben meet at a restaurant to enjoy a night free of all tensions. They used to go on such dates every Friday night and are happy to have some kind of normalcy in life. Upon returning home, Ben is informed of the past.
They used to have a date every Friday for 15 years. Because remember, they were together for 15 years. Now 20 years, technically. I mean, he disappeared for 5 years, but that means they've been together for 20 years now. Or let's say 16. Let's take out the 5 years he wasn't around because the plane disappeared. Wow. Wouldn't we all love to have a love like that? Yeah. Wow.
Passenger's death. Michaela also tells him that every non-passenger who was told about the calling has died till now. They decide to not tell Grace anything about the callings from now on, hoping that it will ensure her safety. Suddenly, Michaela gets a call and is told that the bartender they met earlier has also gotten into an accident and died. She goes to the scene and confirms that the callings do kill non-passengers. At midnight, Ben gets a call from Vance. They have found the radius where the missing patients are kept, but without the exact location.
So wait, the callings end up saving people, right? Because most of the callings they've had have saved somebody, right? It saved that young man from going to jail. The calling saved those 2 girls that were kidnapped, remember, in season 1. But when they tell people about the callings, they die. That's really sad. That is really sad. Oh, no. Wow.
They cannot initiate a raid. Ben thinks of an idea and goes to his office to steal the property papers using his boss's keycard. He is sure to be fired after that because there are CCTV cameras everywhere, but he is ready to risk it for the sake of his son. He goes to the office and completes the task without being caught. By the morning, they have the exact location in their hands. In the hideout, the SP Project Ted is getting impatient. Since the Major is pressuring them to show results quickly, the voltage of current given to the patients is doubled. They don't care if the passengers die as long as they get the results they want.
Wow.
Then, we are introduced to another passenger from Flight 828, Autumn Cox. She used to be a con artist before the plane's disappearance, so when it landed, she was arrested directly from the interrogation, but she went missing afterward, suggesting that she was also abducted for the experiment. At home, Grace organizes a surprise barbecue party for Ben, since he has been working hard for the past few days. She is happy that their life is finally getting back on track, unaware of what Ben is up to. A while later, Ben and Cal are outside playing basketball when an injured Autumn approaches him. She was able to escape while the patients were being moved to a new location. She found Ben after following a calling that showed her the way to his house. She doesn't remember much about the experiments, other than it was very painful and they were drugged most of the time. Ben takes her to the boiler room where Sanvi and Fiona help her. Meanwhile, in the hideout, the passengers are made ready for the second phase of the...
At least they have one person now who has directly undergone those experiments, so she can tell them things that they don't know about. Wow, she escaped. How did she manage to escape? Because it's pretty tight security where these people are being experimented on. Okay.
Experiment. This time, they plan to increase the intensity, which will directly affect Cal and the other passengers. Hence, Ben and the group will have to find them as soon as possible. Even Cal feels the nervousness in the passengers and realizes the result won't be good. Vance doesn't waste time before calling backup and organizing a raid. Jared and Michaela also join them and make their way to the location. However, upon reaching there, they find it completely empty. It is almost impossible because every piece of evidence led them to the building. At home, people from Ben's work come looking.
Could it be that maybe one of the passengers being experimented on is on the good side of these experimenters and tells them things that are going to happen before it happens to? Could it be? Because this is not the first time they've moved. Remember that in season 1, they went to their first warehouse, and by the time they got there, everybody was gone. How do they know enough to move? It could be that there's somebody in Ben's office or Officer Vance's office. The police officers have a spy amongst them, because how do they know that they were coming for them? It's either that too, or it's the government is part, because how else would they know? Because if, for example, if this company, SP or UDS or whatever, is a private company, how do they have the power to kidnap and capture people, foreigners at that, and just experiment on them? If the government is not involved, or if some high-level police person is not involved, I still don't get that. I'm really sure the government or some high-level police person is involved. Because how is this happening in America? How? How is that happening? And like I said before, how have the government of these foreigners not reached out to the American government to ask where their citizens are? Sometimes these things show how much some governments don't care about their people, Because I'm sure most of these foreigners, their embassies they have embassies in America. How have their embassies not reached out to the American government that, hey, we learned the flight 828 plane that disappeared has been found or has reappeared. Can you give us our people? Can you account for our people? How? How are all these foreigners who were on flight 828 kidnapped and being experimented on? If their countries are not in cahoots or something, I really don't get it. Woo. Let's see what happens. Let's continue.
For him. In the middle of the party, Grace is told that her husband has been snooping around the places he isn't allowed to. He has been fired and is under investigation. More problems arise when Olive goes to look for Cal and finds him missing. As Ben is discussing the next move, Cal arrives at the scene, driven by a calling. He shows them a drawing of the building and says that the way to the patients is behind a bush. On checking, they find a hidden door at the same place. Michaela takes care of Cal while the SWAT team, Vance, Ben, and Jared go inside. Soon, the guards see them and a shootout ensues. The researchers put the voltage on high and flee the scene. Because of this, the other passengers channel the pain of the ones who are suffering and get a bad headache.
No.
Thankfully, the team gets there on time to set the missing passengers free, without any of them getting hurt. Ben brings them outside, but Vance and the others are lost in the tunnels. Suddenly, a loud explosion blows up the entire tunnel system. Michaela runs inside and saves Jared, but Vance and the leader of the SP project is killed in the incident. Grace is glad to have her son back, but furious at her husband for lying about so many things.
Oh, Officer Vance died. The leader of the SP, I could care less if he died. I mean, he was willing to kill these passengers. He couldn't care less too. Oh, Vance was like the only police officer that Ben and the other passengers sort of had like a relationship with. It looks like he's the only police officer that they trusted, and now look at what's happening. Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad.
Things. They get into an argument that escalates because Ben cannot tell her about the callings. In the end, he is asked to move away from the house. He reluctantly does as told, promising to come to meet the kids once in a while.
Oh.
Then, he meets Michaela and the others in the boiler room. When no one is looking, Autumn brings out a phone from her shoes and texts someone. A flashback shows us that she is a spy planted by the SP project leader to find out what Ben is up to. Even though she is one of the passengers, they have somehow made her go against her kind. Following that, the rescued passengers are...
Wow, see? I said it. I knew it. I knew that by all means they had used one of the foreign passengers they kidnapped, and like now that person is working for the bad people. I just had a feeling. But that doesn't, the thing is that she came after all these things went on. So that still doesn't explain how the SP knew that Ben was snooping and all of that. I know there were cameras around UDS and all of that, but it still doesn't explain how they could easily run away and wipe out warehouses that they were keeping them and stuff. But of course, am I surprised? She's a con artist. She is a con artist. I wouldn't say she was. She is a con artist. But now the man she works for is actually dead because the leader of the SP who sent her to be a spy is dead. So basically, who is she reporting to now? That means it's either there's a... My mic keeps falling. It's either... Let's see, are we still recording? Okay, great. It's either there is a top leader aside the man they showed who they claim is the leader of the SP. Because she knows he's dead. I'm sure she knows he's dead. Because Ben and Michaela have told them. So who is she texting now? Because it's surely not the leader of the SP who is dead, who sent her. It will be somebody else. Maybe he had a higher ranking person. Let's find out. Let's see if we'll find out in this episode.
Taken to a beach house owned by Fiona. She and Sanvi do routine checkups on them because they haven't come back from the comatose state caused by the drugs they were given. Ben is at the memorial service for Vance when he is approached by 828 Gate podcaster Aaron, who wants to interview him. The guy has some insider providing him information about the Major. Since Major is the root of all problems, Ben agrees to listen to his podcast and film one together if he is interested. While taking care of the rescued passengers, Michaela touches a passenger named Paul. The touch gives her a vision of a man walking through a blizzard, saying the phrase, "Find her." Right after the calling, Paul wakes up but with no memory of his past life. Michaela thinks the calling is asking her to find his wife, Helen. In the next hour, all of the 20 passengers who were at the airport when the plane exploded gather at the beach house. Ben wants them to stick together and tell each other about their callings because it is the only way to make sense of it. Some of them disagree, like the pilot Daly. He thinks Fiona is the one who caused the disappearance altogether because she was studying shared consciousness even before the flight. Daly has been losing his mind since they landed because people have been blaming him for what happened to the plane. His wife and son have left him, and the entire world thinks he is the cause of the biggest mystery the world has ever faced. In the following...
His wife and son left him. How did his wife and son leave him in the most, at the time when he needs them the most? What? When the whole world is against you, that's one thing. But when the whole world and people that you think or you thought had your back are against you, or people that you expect to have your back are against you, that's even worse. No wonder he's going insane. Because what? Does his wife not know him? Why would he just let a plane disappear? Oh, okay.
Scene. Michaela and Jared find Paul's wife Helen. The only reason she didn't come to pick up her husband at the airport after 5 years was that he was abusive to her before the disappearance. Michaela sympathizes with Helen, but is confused why the calling asked her to find her when she is better off without Paul. Somewhere else, Ben listens to Aaron say Holy Grail in his podcast. He has been hearing a calling of the same sort for the past hour, so he decides to meet Aaron. Together, they find out that the Major is a woman and was on a chopper right before the explosion. They have to take help from the NSA to find out where she was at the time of the explosion. Ben meets Vance's assistant, Tim, who agrees to help him get the info from the NSA. As time passes, the number of people who believe that the passengers are God has increased. One of the passengers, named Adrian, is approached by an 828 cult member who inquires if she can touch him. The man takes advantage of their belief and supports them. When it gets dark, Ben comes home to meet Cal and sees Danny in the house. He has come at Olive's request, but the encounter causes a huge argument between the men. Ben is asked to get out of the house once again, not wanting to fight in front of the kids. He does as told. In Michaela's apartment, Jared barges in, asking her to let him take care of her. The two have grown closer after she saved.
You are married. I get that police officers have partners and they are responsible for their partners, and sometimes they develop like a close friendship because basically they are working every day, almost like sometimes 24/7 on life-threatening cases or whatever. But you are not responsible for her. She can't tell you about her callings. You are going to die, Mr. Man. You have a wife who is pregnant. At least we saw the pregnancy test. I mean, we don't know if she's pregnant, but oh no.
His life in the explosion. They know they are attracted to each other, but maintain their distance for the sake of Lourdes. However, this time, they let themselves go and start making out. In the following scene, Ben, Michaela, Sanvi, and Fiona are at the beach house. Sanvi has discovered that the experiments that were performed on the passengers were not unfruitful. In fact, the Major found out that some people are more sensitive to the callings than others. The most sensitive one is Cal, so if she finds out about the kid, his life might be in danger. Ben realizes that the matter at hand is more serious than they thought, now that his son's safety is in question. Then, we are shown a flashback of the time Daly was flying the airplane right before the disappearance. Suddenly, an unexpected storm appears right in front of them, but Daly manages to bring the plane out of it. It caused severe turbulence, but at the time, no one thought the results would be so drastic. In the present, Ben and Grace are sharing custody of Cal. The relationship between them is still shaky, but they have figured out a way to coexist as friends and parents. Meanwhile, Michaela is still constantly getting the calling of the blizzard. Moreover, she regrets what happened with Jared last night and feels awful for her best friend. Jared, on the other hand, thinks that they are meant to be together, even if it means divorcing his wife. However, Michaela is strictly against the idea. At night, Ben gets a call from...
This is why you should marry a man who loves you more than you love him, because what? He clearly is not as into Lord as she is into him, because how can you sit down and tell another woman that you want to be with her, you don't care if you have to divorce your wife? Clearly that means you don't really love your wife. Like, your wife was just a second option. I get it, like Michaela could have been the love of his life, but in the end he decided to marry Lourdes or Lord, whatever her name is. And now, like, he's just like, yeah, I have the love of my life back. I could care less what happens to you. Clearly means that he fell in love with her out of, like, pity, or just because they bonded over loss and grief together. Not necessarily because he really loved her. Maybe some aspects of her reminded him of Michaela, who he thought was dead. Because what? How disrespectful is that? And how is Michaela not at Lourdes' door begging for forgiveness and telling her what happened? How? Because the more they keep this a secret, the more, like, this man has more fuel to be saying all these things to her. I can divorce my wife. Like, you can tell that he does not feel an ounce of regret, an ounce of, like, remorse for what he did.
Daly. Together, they go to an aviation simulation center. Daly shows him a file that contains every report about Flight 828, except it is all false. They go through the simulation to find out that the storm that is shown in the file is not even half as big as the storm they had to go through. It is clear that someone is trying to hide or suppress the real data from coming out. Daly thinks Fiona is a mole and is helping the government. Ben argues otherwise, but...
Wait, but it is only somebody on the flight who will be able to sort of narrate how the storm was, right? Like, I know that other people watching may have seen something, during as they were moving about in their daily lives, but it's only people on the plane that can tell how much the storm, how strong the storm was, the turmoil and all of that happened, like the tumultuous nature of the storm. So clearly that means it's somebody who was on the plane. So I get why he's saying he thinks Fiona, but I really feel like it's somebody they least expect. Like the woman who just appeared, the con artist. But there could also be somebody amongst them who is also a spy, not just that con artist. Somebody who they least suspect, but is very intelligent and like can easily pass as somebody they will just skip over, you know? Let's find out.
Daly is not ready to accept it. In the following scene, they meet an archaeologist who was studying supernatural erosion at the time of the plane's disappearance. Coincidentally, he was also around the area where the plane disappeared. He knew some reports put out by the government were fake, but before he could raise his voice against them, he was threatened and asked to keep out of the matter. He has since retired, but he still thinks about the storm to this day. Upon being asked what he knows about the storm, the man says he doesn't have the original data, but at their repeated request, he hands them the info about something called the dark lightning. The storm they faced that day was not a regular one, but an unexplained phenomenon called the dark lightning. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on the notification.
The dark lightning. Guys, part 5 tomorrow. We need to get to the root of this plane's disappearance. We need to get to the root of it. And why they are having all these supernatural encounters of the callings and saving people and people dying. We need to get to the root of it. And we will, okay? Hopefully tomorrow. So join me tomorrow for part 5. Guys, if you enjoyed this watch party with me, please do like this video. And until tomorrow, please do subscribe. Bye, guys.